So with my last video, I called out the community of No. They aren't haters, they are just pointing out the culture of wokeness gripping our souls and driving us into the dirt with their propaganda that they shove in our faces in all of our favourite TV shows and movies, and now games. And I was a complete fool for attempting to shield the woke from their divine words of prosperity. Nah, just joking with you guys. Of course I wasn't. Seriously, some of those haters, yeah, tried to shove their divine thoughts down my throat with their conspiracies on how the industry is bashing women in video games by not exploiting them enough, not making them pretty enough, without giving proper examples, which is a bit hypocritical, seeming as they accuse the industry for doing the exact same thing, while others decided to verbally attack me and my character because I have an alternate opinion from them, with one saying how I was being misogynistic when I was defending said women. I don't think that's what misogyny means, right? And they certainly did not get any of the jokes I made at the expense of the people that were upset that the bodies of Kendra and Nicole were changed for the worse, as they call it anyway, and they thought that they were actual statements of my arguments. So you may be wondering right now, what do we do while we wait for the remake? Well, I guess we just do it all over again, right?
What's up everybody, here's Marushka, and today I want to share with you a short story. So one day I opened Steam and I got this window informing me to pre-purchase Dead Space. And immediately I had one question. What? Pre-purchase? Wasn't the studio that made Dead Space Visceral Games shut down? Is this an anniversary or something? And then I saw Dead Space Remake. So in that moment I had another question. Why? Why was this remake made in the first place? Remakes are usually made to bring old games to the current standards, but Dead Space doesn't really need that. It's a timeless experience, especially with the graphics and all that. If you are here just for the short answer, well, they basically made it just for the money.
Oh yeah, totally. And all of those supermarkets, retail stores, pubs, restaurants, hotels, airports, docks, train stations, petrol and gas stations can all just go straight to hell, right? Right? Of course EA is just doing it for the money. Why else would they? Do you really think EA would revive a franchise out of the kindness of their own hearts because they truly care about the fan base? I mean, would you make a product that costs you a crap ton of money to create and just give it away? It doesn't make sense, does it? Honestly though, it's not the weakest argument I've ever heard. But every type of business out there does it solely for the money and nothing else, unless it's a non-profit organization or a charity work.
God damn, $60! I could buy the entire trilogy with that money. Before we discuss what are the problems with the remake, let's briefly discuss why Dead Space stands out in the survival horror genre. Dead Space is a very immersive game, something that every horror game needs to have, because that gives you the sensation that you are there, you, the person. And everything will be much more horrifying if you can make the player feel that. Glenn Schofield, one of the creators of Dead Space, knew that very well.
Horror games scare me when horror movies don't. Laugh out loud. Because it's immersive. You are right there. That is you. That is great to hear. Because that's what we try to do. We try and, the more we immerse you and make you feel like you're the character, the more you're going to get scared.
This is coming from the guy who said that there are no cutscenes in Dead Space.
It's me. I wish I could talk to you. I wish I could just talk to someone. It's all falling apart here.
Isaac. Isaac, are you there?
Oh my god.
I don't really think this is a reliable source, do you?
So he and his team think at all sorts of stuff to make the game more immersive, like no hellbart or ammo on the top of the screen. Everything you need to know is incorporated on the suite. There are very few cutscenes, 95% of the time you have the control, and the rest of 5% are cutscene which lasts for just a few seconds.
I like it when people say just a few seconds, it means they have absolutely no idea how long it actually is.
So the tension is not only still there, but it's actually increasing. Another big factor for an immersive experience is that you have a silent protagonist. So in that way you can insert yourself in that role. It makes everything more quiet and creates a lot of tension and horror. But now you'll probably say, but in Dead Space 2 and 3 Isaac had a voice. Well, my dear viewer who's not yet subscribed, I have two answers for that. One, who said that was a good idea. And two, the game was going into a different direction which was more story heavy, so they had to give Isaac a voice. My boys Actman and Gingy have the exact same opinions.
A good horror game needs to maintain immersion, and Dead Space doesn't shatter that with countless unskippable cutscenes.
Nah, just areas where you actually have to listen to Kendra and Hammond bicker for like 2 million years before they give you your next objective that you cannot skip.
If Isaac were to speak at all during this, it would remove some of the tension. This silence makes every other noise have meaning, even if it's just something as small as a floor creaking, as it could mean a necromorph is nearby.
You can have tension and horror in any game in and out of the genre that has a speaking character, unless they talk to themselves in the tense parts of the game. Like Jacob over there. Fuck you, Jacob. Take Halo for an example. The entire game is full of gun-ho action, beautiful soundscapes, and amazing environmental storytelling with a nice story to back it all up with. And the music is the best I've heard in any video game to this day. It's specifically a sci-fi action game, but when you head into the foggy, swamp part of the ring, you find enemies are scattered without their elites, who are supposed to lead the grunts and jackals into battle. Instead, they are alone, isolated, and scared. And when you move into the facility, things get even stranger with enemies that are dead on the floor, that you haven't killed yet. And that makes you wonder, what killed these enemies? Could it be the humans that you are trailing? Could it have been a rebellion of Covenant, you might wonder? But then you meet them, the things that killed the Covenant and the humans that you had been following at this point. The Flood. The entire level is designed to be an unsettling experience, and it's not even a horror game, but my point is the Master Chief isn't a mute character, and yet you can completely immerse yourself in his shoes. It's not hard. When I used to play games that weren't actually specifically horror games like Assassin's Creed, I could immerse myself in the playable character's shoes regardless of the fact that he could talk. So no, a character does not need to be mute in order for the player to be able to immerse themselves within their shoes. And I love his next argument. The old, my favorite YouTuber has the exact same opinion, so it must be right. Seriously, this argument is just as delusional as the Dr. Phil fanbase. Obviously, from what I have just said, these two YouTubers don't understand what survival horror even is and how games that have main characters that speak in them can still retain the horror, atmosphere, the tension, and suspense. So no, that argument has no foundation at all.
When it comes to the graphics, well, this game looks incredible. It was made in 2008. That was more than 14 years ago. It's clearly, to me at least, that Dead Space is the type of game with timeless graphics and experience.
Did you just say timeless graphics? I'm sorry, but that is a terrible argument to make. Sure enough, the graphics do look good, but if we were to take the rose-tinted glasses off just for a second and compare the game to games of this year, the graphics don't hold up very well. Timeless is a bit of a reach, don't you think?
So it's very hard for me to think how they could improve something that was a masterpiece or near perfection. Well, the answer is they didn't. They just made it worse. The remake looks good, I will give it that, but my problem is that they wanted to change the script and the story. Oh my god, it's just like Netflix Witcher again. I don't know why people those days have the obsession to change things and to say that, hey, I think my idea is better. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are a lot of games who benefit from those changes, but this is not the case.
Yeah, I love this argument as well. He hasn't even played the game, but goes on to say how they've changed the story completely. It's like me not watching a film or playing a game or even reading a book and I say it's a 1 out of 10. It doesn't make sense, does it? They haven't changed the story, but they have made adjustments to the dialogue to accommodate for Isaac's voice to be in the game. But from what I have seen, some of those lines he says were imported from a pre-existing character that was in the original. There is a difference between a reboot and a rewrite. A reboot scraps the game altogether and comes up with something entirely new within that universe. Rewrite is just changing minor things so it just makes sense. And let's be fair, Dead Space didn't have the greatest of a story. Pretty much from Dead Space to Dead Space Downfall to Dead Space Extraction to Dead Space Martyr to Dead Space whatever, they had been rewriting certain plot points along the way. So if they want to fix that and give us the original conception that the developers from 2008 wanted to present to us, then I say more power to them.
Visceral Games did a very good job at creating a unique and interesting game. So what changes the remake team made? Well, remember what I've just talked about in this video? Well, except from the hell bar, they remove everything. They added a lot of cutscenes and removed the control from the player to add more cinematic experience. But this is not God of War.
Seriously, can't anyone get their own arguments these days and stop regurgitating everybody else's? This has to be the 5th time I've heard that argument. It's almost like these people never played the 2nd or the 3rd game, as Dead Space 2 introduced this style of cutscene into the franchise. And since the dawn of 3D games, they have had games that had cinematic cutscenes or in-game cutscenes, which these are in-game cutscenes, not cinematics. There is a difference.
Games like God of War, who are story heavy, are better without loading screens, and horror games are better without cutscenes. It's that simple.
It's also possible to miss that transformation in the original. You could walk into the morgue and just be like, oh, well, I'm going to look at what's over there. It also means that a crucial piece of information can get lost.
Another example of developers thinking that their players are stupid. I don't need you to hold my hand and tell me, hey, there is a cutscene here, hey, take a look. That's a big problem nowadays. We are not stupid, and even if we are, we have a lot of games that hold our hands. We don't need this applied to everything. If I miss that cutscene or whatever you wanna call it, that's it. More surprises for the next playthrough, I guess. Visceral Games put a ton of work to have scenes like the big tentacle where the tentacle follows the player. Now it is just another cutscene. Okay.
Another example of regurgitating the same arguments you've seen in another video, and to be fair, credit where credit is due, Lucky Strike was wrong too. The tentacle drag in the original is exactly the same as the remake sequence. Both possess no cutscenes at all. Yeah, you guys probably didn't believe me earlier when I said that his first argument wasn't to be the weakest link in this list. But there you go, he's just strictly making things up as he goes along. Or somebody else is making things up as they go along and he's just regurgitating the same points.
This probably can slide. you can say that, hey, it's not that big of a deal, they will probably not use it that often. You can make that argument if you wanted to. But the next two, man, oh my god. So now Isaac has a voice, which again removes a lot of the tension, because you will hear him talking and that will break the silence, which is a big factor in a horror game. But again, you can make that argument that in Dead Space 2 and 3 Isaac had a voice and it was fine. Yeah, but do you see how the remake just cuts everything that's immersive? You no longer can put yourself into that place because that's Isaac's place now.
You argue that because Isaac has a voice, the game cannot be a tense experience, but like the last time you brought this up, I debunked that theory, as in other video games that aren't specifically horror games, that have main characters that have the ability to speak, the tension is there. Here is another example. In Terminator Resistance, there are a lot of moments where you have to sneak around the machines that patrol the area as to conserve your resources, which in turn makes the experience very tense, especially in the mission where you have to escape the hospital and Skynet sends in reinforcements. You are forced to sneak past the machines that have come for you, and the feeling is quite tense, especially with the music that follows, and the character you play as can talk. So it doesn't matter if a character you play as has a voice, you can still attain a very tense experience regardless.
On paper they probably seems like small things, but when put in action those little things pile up, making a very unique experience. But now they made it in a way to be in line with every game out there and it's not special anymore. But man, you can argue with me with the next one. It's impossible, don't even try. They changed the characters' models. Oh god, I'm so sorry Nicole, they deserve this, what they did to you. Now seriously, why the hell Nicole looks like she is 65 years? What happened here? Who designed this? Who was okay with it? In the original game it's never mentioned how old the characters are, but based on how they look, you can say that Isaac is, well, around late 30s, maybe mid 40s, and Nicole early to mid 30s, something around that. But now, oh my god man, look at that, ooh, this is embarrassing.
Yeah, you could say that again, this video is a bit of an embarrassment. Interesting how no one batted an eye to Nicole in Dead Space 2, but in the remake the tentacle has certainly hit the fan. So you say I can't argue with this point? Well, guess what? I'm just about to. You see, the reason why the characters' faces don't look like the originals is because this is a remake, not a strictly graphical remaster. The characters had their faces grafted from the voice actors playing them, so obviously Nicole is going to look a little older than how she did in Dead Space 2 or Dead Space 1. On the plus side, in the lore of the marker, it gives people visions that are so horrific that they cannot sleep, causing insomnia to take place. And as said in the misguided criticism video, poor sleep can affect your overall appearance. So there is a scientific reasoning behind it, even if people want to be ignorant to it.
And even the voice acting, man, the remake sounds so boring, like she has depression or something.
Does this guy know what the marker does? The marker causes insomnia to take place and depression to take root.
They really succeed into making Nicole an actual grandma.
Has this guy seen a woman in her late 30s to mid 40s before? Going by his logic, all women in this age range are grandmothers.
Nicole looks like a grandma. What the hell happened to Isaac? He already looked kinda old, so what the...
It's rough. Easy to say the wrong thing.
Why Isaac look like he's 25? Man, at least make him old too. You can't go more alienated than this. If you're not to tell me that this guy is Isaac, I would never guess it. Oh my god, man. Why he has red hair now? In every game he has a combination of grey and black hair, like everyone at that age. In the original game, Isaac's face was revealed only at the end of the game, and now I think they should keep it like that, man.
As stated before, the face of Isaac was grafted from Gunnar Wright, so I guess you just complimented him by saying he looks 25? Not the result you wanted, but good on ya anyway. You really didn't play the game, did you, mate? As you can see Isaac's face in the beginning of the game after the shuttle crashes, but I guess you didn't fiddle with the joystick or the mouse in the original, kind of like you were sitting in a non-interactive cutscene. Huh. So that's his video in a nutshell, and I felt that reviewing it would kill two birds with one stone, as the video from Lucky Strike has been ripped apart by other creators to the point where it's kind of a dead horse right now. But this video contains all of the points from Lucky's video, which seems to be a pretty popular trend on this site. Just regurgitate the same arguments and hope no one will notice, even when all of the arguments are complete trash. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please hit that like button, comment what you thought below, and I look forward to hearing from you. Sign up to join the British Alliance today by hitting the subscribe button and ringing in the notification bell to receive all updates from the channel. Special thanks to all of the Alliance Elite members. Your support helps me to create more content for others to enjoy. If you would like to be a part of the Alliance Elite members and gain those extra benefits, then hit the join button and select which of the tiers that sounds right for you. And I'll see all of you among the cosmos, and be sure to have a good one.